Hello friends, Farmer Justin, back inside the Falmouth School Garden hoop house. Today I'm going to be reading a book to you in a series of books that we've been given from the state of Maine. They've been given to schools all over the state as part of their Maine Agriculture Specialty License Plate. So you'll see cars with this license plate on them. Maybe not the same numbers, but that picture. And that means people paid a little bit of extra money to get those license plates. And the money from that program, in part, goes to buy books and send those books all over the state for students to be able to enjoy in their classrooms in kindergarten through 4th grade. Plants make their own food through photosynthesis. People and animals can use these nutrients as food too. Plants use water, carbon dioxide, or CO2, and sunlight to make natural sugars and starches that people and animals need to survive. A frog life cycle consists of 4 different parts, and all 4 of those parts happen in this little pond here at the Falmouth School Gardens, and we get to see them. So first they start off as eggs, fertilized eggs, and here's a gelatinousy looking egg sac where they actually float in the water and they'll hatch out, and eventually you start to see almost like tiny fish inside of each one of those little bubbles that's inside of there, the gelatinous bubbles, and it works its way out. The next stage in the frog life cycle is the tadpole stage. Tadpoles really look a lot like fish, and like a fish, it actually has gills to breathe underwater, and their tail is very strong. But later on, as they get a little bit larger like these, they do start to develop hind legs, and they can kind of spring around, but they still live underwater. If we move over to this tray, mostly tomatoes in here. I'll pull out a plant. There we go. We can see the first leaves are the cotyledons, and they're starting to maybe get dark and they'll die off, and then come what are called the true leaves on the tomatoes. So typically with plants, a good time to start potting them up is when they have about 3 true leaves forming. Sometimes packets will say something different. And if we look at this one, there are 3 on it. There's 1, 2, and then a third one right in the middle. A little bit hard to see, but there are 2 or 3. Here's a couple of worm bins from 2 5th grade classes, Mrs. Soul and Miss Barrett. They've been keeping worms in their classrooms in these bins since the fall, and every week we fed them some leftover fruits and vegetables. Also, you can see here some newspaper that we use for bedding. Worms will even eat the newspaper itself. Since we aren't in school right now, I'm cleaning out their bins and moving the worms to the hoop house, where I have a larger worm bin. As part of a food web, worms are decomposers. Earthworms act like little plows in the soil, and they eat their way through the soil and organic matter like leaves and dead plants, leaving little tunnels where water, air, and roots can go. But these worms here are not actually earthworms. They're actually a type of worm called a brandling worm, and they're smaller than earthworms, and they really actually like living above the soil, under rotting things. So they're different from earthworms that way. Because they prefer to be on top of the soil, they are called epigean. As you can see in this video, the worms are constantly trying to get under cover as I peel away layers. Even though they prefer to live above the soil, they are afraid of light even more. This is called being photophobic. They don't have eyes, but in their skin, they can sense if there is light. So why do you think that they don't want to be out in the light?